Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Season 1, Episode 20. I've been thinking about it. It makes sense that we got to see Hohenheim at the end of last episode. This entire series is about equivalent exchange, and if you take something like Bury the Chopper away from the show, you need to have something just as powerful to replace it, and that is, I assume, Hohenheim's appearance and introduction into the show.
Yeah, I could think of maybe something else to attach from last episode, but definitely not with the same power that what you just brought up would hold. Solaris, or Lust, had a line that evoked the idea of the homunculus still being able to have love or feelings toward their parental figures, to others. And what do we get at the end? We get a father figure that we have some very complex emotions about.
Do you think we'll miss Lust? Do you think that the other sins will grieve her? Or is it just like, oh, go next,
I think I would kind of miss Lust. I was kind of upset that we weren't making another Greed. He was so fun.
True. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Sweet. What if we just don't get it? What if we go somewhere else and don't get any Hohenheim
We have to. I think we also need to learn what happened to Havoc. If Havoc is actually dead.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's too much heartbreak in one episode. Not only did Havoc realize his girlfriend that he was so happy to have found moving here was actually a homunculus and was not dating him for good reasons, but then she kills him?
I don't think Havoc's dead. That's what I want to see.
Bradley?
Yeah.
Against Ling, Lan Fan, and Fu.
Oh my god.
Their sign that they were moving forward, them running away.
Father before the grave.
What the fuck? Gotta bring him back in front of a grave, where the other father figure we've had in this series is now in a grave.
What are you thinking?
What are you doing to me?
Yeah, same.
He was supposed to come back from wherever he left for. Well, we know something.
I have anxiety. It's interesting the parallels between Winry and Ed right now.
One has a welcomed guest next to their bedside.
眠ることができないみたいだ。 そう君も私と同じだエドワード・エルリックそれにエドワードこんな姿のままじゃ嫌だ
エドまだ寝てんのかい親父さんが出てっちまうよ
これもらっていいか4人で取ったのこれしかないんだ
別に構わんよ
すまんな
The head gets revealed, huh?
お礼にいいことを教えてやるよ
ん
じきひどいことがこの国で起こるよその国へ逃げとけ
ひどいことなんて珍しくもない第一ここを帰ってくる場所にしてる奴らがいるんでね
Come home to the three of
忠
them.
告はしたぞ
たまにはご飯食べに帰っといでよ
残念だよピナコもうお前の
What the fuck? What a crazy looking shot. Holy shit.
本当に掘り起こすのかい
With the idea of the hair color, eye color, it probably looks like Al, right?
確認しないと前へ進めないだろう
Weren't we thinking that that was the soul?
逃げてたまるか
And the parts that were used to make it were basically Al's whole body.
Jesus.
Nako's amazing.
Bachan, 母さんの髪は栗色だった。黒だ。大腿骨、骨盤。こりゃ男のだ。ばちゃん、これはお前の母親ではない。
Does that make him feel better somehow? Like,
そうだ。死んだ人間は元に戻らない。それが真理だ。不可能なことだったんだ。エド、しっかり。
at least you know you didn't put her through the suffering of being brought back like that.
あの日からこれは絶望の象徴だった。だが今は希望につながる。あるは元に戻れる。
Fullmetal Alchemist. Fullmetal Alchemist.
I did not expect Hohenheim to come in the way that he did, but this is such a fascinating development.
Giving a grave.
はい、カーティス。なんだ、エドか。どうした？先生に聞きたいことがあって。ただ。なんだ、はっきり言いなさい。お子さんを人体錬成した時のことなんですが。
It wasn't your baby.
それがどうした？先生。俺とアルが錬成したのは母さんではなかったんです。何のことだ？何が言いたい？先生が錬成して出来上がったお子さん、本当に先生の子供でしたか？そうかい。息子たちは戦地でよくやっとったんだね。
What is happening in this episode?
あいつ、ホーエンハイムはどこへ行くって？
26 is not long enough.
何も。ああ、忘れとった。奴に大事な伝言があったんだ。ああ、遺言だよ、トリシャの。
あの人が帰ってきたら伝えてもらいます。
She was waiting for him.
約束守れなかったって。先に行きます。ごめんなさいって。
約束？何の？さあ。
And he said he can't eat her cooking anymore.
伝えといてくれ。あれでもお前たちのこと 結構心配してるんだよ。一発殴った後で伝えといてやるよ。
Please.
You can tell by how she treats Hohenheim. It's like she sees a bigger picture.
Yeah.
あるに怒られにな。勝手にいろいろしちゃったからな。なんじゃこりゃー。お前こんなにぶっ壊れて。
Al's gonna be mad at me.
お前らも何やってんだ。
飯食ってます。
タグ、何があったんだよ。
We've both been through some stuff separately.
ある元の姿に戻れるよね。
当たり前だ。俺が戻すっつったら戻す。あるリゼンブールであの時錬成したものを掘り起こしてきた。
なんでそんなことを。
結果としてあれは母さんではないということが判明した。
Not a human body, but can still feel like the emotions like that.
ウェンリオ、その嫁にすんのどっちだって兄弟喧嘩したことを覚えてるか。
この前屋上で話したやつ。
ああ、あるを振ったんだって。
うん、振った
で、二人に質問なんだけど、その理由は。
私より背の低い男は嫌。
男の価値決めんなよ。
てか、それがあるのからだと何か関係あるの？
つまり俺の知らないことをアルが知っていて、同じことをウィンリーも覚えているってことは、それは本当にあった出来事だ。本当にあったことを覚えてるんだから、鎧に定着させたのは本物のアルだってことだよ。あの扉から魂のみだがちゃんとお前を引っ張り出すことができた。魂が引っ張り出せたんなら肉体も扉の向こうから取り戻せるはずだ。
魂と離れてなお肉体が存在。
Like bury the chopper.
思い出してみろ。あの時真理の中
Oh.
We saw something.
僕だ。あそこには僕がいた。
そうだ。だから魂の時と同様、肉体も引っ張り出せばいいんだ。
兄さん、僕はあの時母さんだと思っていたものの中から兄さんを見ていた。
あれに入っていたのは
多分拒絶反応のせいで魂が定着しなかったんだ。僕たち誰の魂も傷つけてはいなかったんだ。
エルリック様、泉カーティス様からお電話です。
Dang.
錬成されたあの子の肌の色、髪の色、共に私たち夫婦から生まれるはずのないものだった。何か突き止めたんだな。
はい。アルの体を取り戻せる確信と。
死んだ人間を蘇らせることは不可能。そうか。何かが足りなかったのではなく。
Say you couldn't actually do it.
できないことか。ありがとう。
Yeah, because it's not about you being like too weak to make it happen. It's actually just impossible.
なんて
I've had chills like 3 times and I want to cry.
ありがとうって言われた。
We haven't even brought up Hohenheim.
ある。
母さんをあんな姿にして殺したの
And
は
now
僕
you
だ。
know that you didn't put her through that. Like,
俺もだよ。ある。
ありがとう兄さん。僕は母さんを殺してはいなかった。
泉、
救われた気がするんだ。私はあの子、二度殺してはいなかった。
なんとしても俺はお前の体を元に。
兄さん、あれは賛同した僕も同罪なんだから、一人で背負ってるようなこと言わないでよ。僕はもう自分のことで他の人が犠牲になるのは
you
嫌
guys
なんだ。
came to the same
そ
place.
の時だって死んだって知った時、他の人が犠牲になるくらいなら元に戻らなくてもって正直思ったしね。人ならざる体を持っていても自分らしく生きる人たちを見てきた。こんな体でも周りの人は人間として接してくれる。だから普通に生きる分にはこの体でも不自由はない。そう思うようになってきた。やっぱりダメだ。もう一人の夜
This is your resolve. Not burning the house down.
あれあいつ
What was that little bit of like romance for Anna at the very end of that episode? What? That was amazing.
It was confidence, not romance.
I will call it whatever I want to call it.
It's not like he suddenly got taller.
He doesn't need to get taller. That's the thing.
He just needs to stand up straight.
That's how
his posture all along.
It's all about posture. It's all about confidence in who you are and the body that you're in, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, seeing the picture in the outro, now we know it was taken. He took it. You took it. You complex guy that we barely know.
Don't give him too much credit.
The credit I gave him is that we barely know him.
Okay, that was Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Season 1, Episode 20. That was not the episode I thought it was going to be. Oh my god.
This episode, in terms of pacing, reminded me of the episode where we first kind of met Greed, and all of these things were happening. Izumi sees that, you know, we're not sweeping outside anymore, something has happened, and we're getting all these cuts to different stuff. Hughes's funeral is happening. Like, there's all this stuff happening kind of at one time across a bunch of different areas, and the pacing just felt very similar to, like, that episode. Any
thoughts coming right out of it? Like, what are you immediately focused on?
So I am immediately focused on the kind of relief and saving that has happened in this episode and what transpired for multiple people. 3 people, 4 people in particular in this episode get to feel some sort of relief by the end of it for what they learn, thanks to Hohenheim. So we'll get into him a little bit more, I'm sure. But thanks to him, we're able to bring about the energy that brings a line like, I feel like I've been saved. This idea that you didn't kill this person for the second time. You didn't put them in this miserable suffering situation. Like, you always think about, like, in, like, zombie movies or something, people are like, don't, like, you put me out of my misery. Either don't let me become a zombie, or if I become one, please, you know, end things for me. You know, so that idea that they didn't kind of put their mom or their child into this form that couldn't live, could have been feeling an immense amount of pain in the moment that you kind of tried to transmute them back to life and then kill them again, that you didn't do that. You aren't responsible for their death. It's just impossible. That idea that, like, it's not that you were too weak and someone could have been able to do it and you just couldn't, and because you weren't strong enough, you brought about a second death for them. No, it's just actually impossible.
Yeah, I'm in my head.
Yeah?
Yeah. About, like, trying to understand what the fuck Hohenheim
so Hohenheim is, like, keeping you in your head right now.
Yeah. I am trying to make sense of what Hohenheim knows.
Okay, well, are you calling about that line with him warning Pinako, like, hey, you better get out of this country, and then as he's walking away being like, I won't be able to taste your cooking anymore?
Like, I don't give, to be completely honest with you, I don't give a shit about anything Hohenheim says this episode. I feel like the only thing I can focus on is everything that he doesn't say, and the looks that he gives, and the little bit that we get from in his head, and then his expressions. Like, he has a fond memory right here of Ed and Al. I'm assuming. It's happy children looking up at him. He is looking over Ed.
He wants to touch Ed's head.
Yeah. So...
which is not something that you do to someone that you do not have love for.
Yeah. However, like, and the way that he's looking at his hand, it's like, it's like he doesn't deserve it.
Yep.
That's what it's giving.
That is what it's giving. Or like, this is something I think you could read it as, he wouldn't want me to do that, or you could read it as what I think it is more like kind of a self-centered thought, which is that I don't deserve, not like I'm not touching him because he wouldn't want me to, but more so I don't deserve to comfort
I think it could be
be
both.
there for my child. It could be either. But definitely you're right to bring up like one of the biggest things we get from him, it feels like, is purely just looks. Like, especially at the end of last episode 19, the look on his face when he turns and sees that Ed is there is pained, is sad, is filled with things that we would have not imagined his face be filled with. And I can't help but kind of remember my feelings at the end of episode 19, which I feel like I was like headed a little more in the direction of, oh, well, we were seeing from the child's perspective. We don't actually know what their marriage was like with Trisha and Hohenheim. We don't know why Hohenheim left and if Trisha actually knew why it was. And like, we don't know the state of their relationship. We only know from the kids, my dad left, my mom died, and he wasn't there when she died. And then we went through some really traumatic things without his presence being there. He could have helped us.
I have such a different view and so many questions of Hohenheim after this episode. Like, you get no dads in anime. You get Ash's non-dad, right? Other than like the retcon movie.
But was that a movie or one episode where it's like, oh, your dad's in this town, you should go visit him, and then Ash doesn't get to see his dad, and we're like, what? My image of Hohenheim after last episode's discussion was probably the same since the beginning. Like, nothing's really enacted much change because we haven't seen or known anything about him other that he studied alchemy and left his wife and kids. Mm-hmm. After seeing Trisha's past with Pinako and the promise, like, and then adding that with everything we've gotten from her, it, like, I don't have, like, I would have said that, like, oh, he's a bad dad in the sense that, like, he just doesn't give a shit. Last episode, I compared him to a non-spoiler anime dad that was like, I have my own goals and I'm proud of it, like, like, and that was my vision, but now it's completely fucking different. I don't know what it means, but I've just been rewatching the end of episode 14 while you were talking at the beginning of the episode, just to kind of look at Father, right? Mm-hmm. He has red eyes like the fucking thing that Ed and Al created. What great, love it. But above all else, what we had thought, or what we had brought the idea up of, was that Father was Hohenheim. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's not the case. Here's my issue. Hohenheim doesn't age. I think that he's immortal, or that he takes life in a transmutation sort of way, and it keeps him from aging. Like, Pinako legitimately says, you haven't changed. We see you're just as you were all those years ago. Mm-hmm. Pinako is younger. Uh-huh. He looks identical, but that doesn't make sense in the sense, like, what the fuck is Father then? Right. Okay. I still think that that's on the table, the Hohenheim Father conversation. I feel like it's on the table, but I feel like it's not something that we can tap into anymore because we don't have any more to be able to explore it without it just sounding super redundant and repetitive and us just spiraling in circles. I feel like bringing up this picture is really awesome. I feel like my feelings about Hohenheim had been changed because of last episode. Obviously, we were on, like, slightly different paths with that. Like, I was definitely gearing toward he left for some reason that is possibly a greater good situation, possibly a situation where his wife knew why he was leaving. And one of my main grab-ons for that, other than what I've already said in this discussion, which was we were just getting the kids' POV, is the fact that Trisha was so happy about her son's being interested in alchemy and studying alchemy, and that's kind of something that I feel like you can't ignore.
It seems
so I feel like emotionally I was definitely on team, like, there's more to this character and I'm gonna be open-minded to him.
He seems like he is very aware and sympathetic of Al's and Ed's, like, why they would feel the way that they do about him, but is emotionally intelligent enough to offer up a situation that would benefit them, that they feel like they're in control. Like, Ed here, it comes across that Hohenheim is intentionally saying what he does to Pinako because he's aware that Ed's at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like, he wants Ed to go down the path of finding out that it wasn't his mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, to add that to a character, like, as a trait, you're not writing them as, like, a malicious person at all. You're, like, it's an understanding, but I just don't know what the rest of the events around him are like.
It goes with, honestly, I think what you could take is he tries to speak to Ed one-on-one. Like, you guys were running away, that's why you burned my house down. This you could see as him being like, okay, well, it didn't work for me to try to talk to him when it was a one-on-one, but if he overhears, you know, me talking to someone else, will that information maybe reach him in a different way?
Exactly.
It won't be as emotionally charged kind of barrier there from what I'm trying to say. Because as Pinako says, your father's concerned about you. I think that something that's interesting to bring up is the why now. Why is he here?
Why can't he do more? Like, if all of those things are adding up together, we haven't even fucking touched on the idea of him not aging, which I think we need to continue to bring up because that's fucking facts.
There's so many things.
But why, like, if you're this way that is being portrayed, is something keeping you from being more involved? Like, it feels like he has a lot of knowledge. If he doesn't age, of course you would if you practice alchemy for a long time and don't age and have all of that resource, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not helping or being more clear about what you know for, like, because you can't, or because you want it to benefit Ed and Al, and specifically Ed and his growth in his own way, because obviously he has his own feelings towards his dad?
I mean, no matter what, it seems like the characters that maybe know the most in this story are the ones that are wanting to kind of be hands-off with Ed and Al. If you think about how Lust, Gluttony, Father, how the villain characters feel is that we can't touch him yet. He's important for a possible sacrifice later. We need him to maybe, like, continue on in his potential. And you can't kind of touch him now and stop that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like similar mindset of like, yeah, are we hands off on both ends here?
He takes the picture.
He takes the family picture, and honestly, that brings up what he came for was to warn Pinako. This is something I think that's powerful. It's like he didn't know necessarily that Ed was going to be here. I mean, you could say that maybe he did know and we just don't know how he knew, and just off screen he like figured it out and he just knew he'd bump into Ed. But as the simplest thing to say is he came here because he has love for Pinako, who, as Pinako says, I don't want to leave because this is a home for these 3 children to come back to. Like, Hohenheim knows what this woman has done for his boys. He knows, and he also has a care for this woman because we even see the picture of them in Pinako's youth being friends. And Pinako looked after Trisha when Trisha was sick. Like, Hohenheim, I would say, has a lot of care for this woman and came here to warn her because he doesn't want anything to happen to her.
I feel like I'm freaking out and everything I'm saying is stupid, but I can't stop saying it. Like, when I'm like brought up Trisha's scene in the flashback, the once he comes back, could you tell him something for me? Because I want to read the line after that. And then I'm like, you can't draw a parallel between brothers and like a wife and a husband, right? Like, Al brought up multiple times this episode, like, yeah, even if you have a real body, people can just die the next day. People can get sick and die the next day. And then thinking about how I don't think that Hohenheim is dying because he's fucking looks the same and doesn't seem like he ages. And I'm like, fuck, does that mean by the end of the series, Ed is gonna be in a Hohenheim-esque place and Al's not gonna be alive and be the parallel to their mother? And that sounds crazy, but it's also like, I'm scared. And then when she says, tell him I couldn't keep my promise, that I was dying before him, and that I'm sorry. Like, what does that mean? Are you... Let's say that Hohenheim's who we've spent this discussion talking about, is he trying to go out and find a way to make... Was she already sick that it was just told to us differently and trying to find a way to cure her? Is he trying to find a way to give her what he has in terms of not aging? Or is he trying to not age anymore? You know what I mean? Like, how do you... Their relationship seems like understanding and positive at this point in time. Because of that, I'm like, what do you take as the promise? Because in bringing up his not aging, I think that completely recontextualizes the promise that I was dying before him and that I'm sorry line.
I think that we've seen it done before, that idea of immortal characters eventually within their time period of not dying, or characters just live a lot longer than other characters, that eventually they could get to a place where they kind of wish that their life could also have a natural end to it, and they didn't have to continue almost like this alone feeling, this loneliness of continuing to have to watch the people that you love die and not get to go be with them in whatever that afterlife might be, or be buried beside them. I feel like you could definitely think that maybe that's what he was saying. Not that he was saying, oh, I'm gonna make sure that you don't die, you live longer like I do, but more so I want to be able to bring a natural end to my life, and I want to be able to go before you and you live like a healthy life and be here to take care of you, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm kind of attaching to at the moment. So obviously that begs the question of, why would he live longer, and what would he need to do if we can't bring back
He doesn't seem like okay, in this world, how do you live longer than a normal person in a non-malicious way? Mm-hmm. That's, I guess, because what I first posed is would make the most sense is you're using other people to prolong your life. That does not fit into the square-shaped hole that the circle of Hohenheim is right now, as a person,
Yeah.
How is he able to do that?
Mm-hmm. If it's impossible to bring someone that's dead back to life, then how is it done to shorten someone that's immortal or possibly immortal's life and bring back a natural means of ending their life again?
What a wild character. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't talked about anything else this episode. I'm sorry.
I feel like one of the other major things
sorry, Azumi broke me in ways. I am so thankful that Ed called her. Mm-hmm. I didn't think we'd get the thanks, but when Azumi was like, I am so glad I didn't kill the baby the second time, that's really, really sad.
Yeah. We get that hang up at the end of the first phone call, which is obviously, she knows that Ed wouldn't just call to say something that's going to emotionally hurt. You know what I mean? Obviously, as soon as she hangs up, it's not a hang up oh, F you for saying this thing that's hurt. It's I'm hanging up right this fucking second because I'm going to go run and figure out if what you're saying is true. Izumi went into action with that hang up of that phone call.
Mm-hmm. And
God, the way that she and her husband hugged upon what they've realized, all this time she's had this blame on herself, and her husband, we know, has been an amazing freaking support for her. But the relief they both must feel now, knowing that it's that same way. It's the same kind of relationship between Ed and Al that we get on the staircase, which is Al being like to Ed, like, you knew that have been feeling like I was to blame, like I killed Mom the second time. And Izumi and her husband are that same way, you know, where the husband was like Ed, like knowing that this person he cares about feels like they killed someone we both care about. And just having to be there, you might be angry that it didn't work, but you also, like, you have to live in the moment and see the person in front of you and see that the blame they're putting on themselves, and that is like kind of the most important target for your support and your emotions there. You kind of disregard anything that you might be feeling because it's definitely not as important as making sure they feel that you still love them and you're not putting blame onto them.
One of the first things I wrote this episode ended up coming full circle in a really fucked way. Like, I was thinking, okay, after the first time that Al talks to Winry and it's like, yep, I can't sleep in this body, and we get that, I'm like, okay, would you rather not sleep and be up alone all those nights by myself, right? Or be able to sleep, but you're going to be having so many nightmares about the most horrific fucking thing possible, like we actually got to see this episode from Ed. And neither of them. Mm-hmm. Neither. No.
Well, honestly, what you're bringing up there with Al's comments about what it's like to not be able to sleep in this body, not being able to eat in this body, it's painting a direct parallel to what we don't know is Hohenheim's situation. We don't know what Hohenheim's situation is, but that idea of what we get is him being up at night looking at Ed in bed. What we get is Al being up at night looking at Winry in the bed. We get this idea of won't be able to taste Pinako's food anymore. Al can't taste food anymore. The loneliness that would come from not being able to be alone all night is like similar to living long enough that everyone that you love is dying.
Or nihilistic Ben is like, oh, I can't sleep every night, so at the end of the series, I can finally sleep. You know? Like, by not being alive anymore. Mm-hmm. Which is... I don't want to believe that's, like, a possibility.
I have faith that I'm gonna like whatever it is.
How many episodes are in this?
I feel like there's a lot, actually.
For some reason, I have no idea. I have no idea. Like, we're
scratching the surface right now, it feels like.
You think?
That's what it feels like, at least.
I feel like the only thing I had to go off of was this dude I knew named Ron who loved Fullmetal Alchemist. I never talked to him about it. I never learned anything about it, but I feel like I have a vague memory of him being like, yeah, there was 100 episodes, but that's not Brotherhood, or like there were hundreds. I have no context. I have no idea, but so much shit is happening episode 20. I'm like, what's going, I don't know. I'm scared. I'm spiraling.
The end of episode 19 imagery of the seal of Barry the Chopper getting scratched away is purely what's actually happening. That's how I feel it is. Like, oh, we're scratching off the seal and we're finally getting into like more of the actual truths in this series, like getting Hohenheim, you know, this episode. I feel like one of the last things that's important to bring up is what has happened for our two main characters over the last couple episodes.
Yeah.
Which is their separation, and then being able to come to the same emotional place as each other, even though they are separate and going through separate things, which is that resolve to continue to move forward, but without hurting anyone else, but still wanting to move forward. And Hohenheim's lines about the house, like what they were using as their benchmark of that is the moment in time where we started moving forward and we weren't, we were going on with our lives and we weren't going to look back, and that was our resolve. Like Hohenheim was bringing it up, like, no, that was running away. You were covering up something that you did that you didn't want to look at.
Akin to a child wetting his sheets and covering it up
and hiding the sheets. So what we get at the end of this episode in the staircase is the coming together of the brothers who have reached their separate resolves, their true resolve, having faced all of the truths. Like, Al has seen his doorway scene. He's seen that he saw through the eyes of what he thought was his mother. He learns that he didn't kill his mother for the second time. They've both picked up so much knowledge, and also knowledge that could lead to then hope that they would be able to restore Al's body, that now is the true moment of being able to kind of walk forward together.
Ed bringing up, like, yeah, like, talking about that truth bastard, right? I'm like, what the fuck would Truth think of Hohenheim's existence? Like,
I think we'd have to know what Hohenheim was to even begin to theorize.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Trisha would have had to know whatever the situation
it's
with
the
Hohenheim
biggest,
is.
like, it's like the scene that we have above us right now, without saying what it is, from a very nonchalant reveal that's actually one of the biggest reveals ever. Like, yeah,
but delivered in such a way.
They didn't once acknowledge that there's no dialogue that's like, Hohenheim doesn't age, Hohenheim is immortal. But
so much is like...
That was this episode.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I
I guess we just have to be patient to receive more
What's
information.
that? What's patience?
What is patience? It is not my virtue.
Give me more badass Roy Mustang. That's what I want.
Okay, there we go. Next episode.
You good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.